Mind the gap.
Good afternoon, Fabrizia. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I did my little practice session this morning. I did a little bit of workout because I tend to sleep at times, but I decided that I need to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. So starting practicing, and this is about my physical exercise, which has nothing to do with photography, but I still think it's an important practice to do every morning, for me at least. How was your day?
Yeah, it's been good. It's I'm an hour behind you, so I've just finished lunch. But it's a gorgeous day today. So
It's a
it
gorgeous day.
started off well. There's a lot to do, and I'm busy, but I'm happy. And I'm putting in deliberate practice.
Yeah, we talked a lot about the concept of deliberate practice, what it is, what it means to do deliberate practice with very practical, excuse the pun, tips and tricks for doing it. But today I wanted to address one objection that people sometimes have. And people say, and I know I'm guilty of that myself, sometimes people say, okay, I want to practice, like I want to take photos every day, I want to go out and take photos, or I want to write, or I want to paint, or whatever it is. I know that it's important for me, but I'm just lacking the motivation and the inspiration. My muse is not giving me the necessary inspiration, so I end up doing nothing. Right? Does that happen to you as well?
Yes, but of course there are days when we really don't feel like doing. We don't produce our best work because we can be tired, or there are days like that. And I think we need to make allowances for days where we're just a little bit under par, under the weather. Yesterday was a day like that for me. I traveled. I've had 2 weeks of really intense work when I was in Austria, and then I came to England, and I drove all the way to where I am now. And then yesterday I was supposed to, rest in the morning and work in the afternoon. And in the end, it was like I did a little bit, but it was like I was exhausted. So I decided just to take the time and read instead, which is something that I need to do anyway for my work. So I think we need to also be flexible to manage things as we feel. But on the other hand, there are some practices and some things that are good to be part of our daily routine or our daily schedule.
Yeah.
And that determines all the actual moving forward that we do. Otherwise it doesn't happen. So just working or doing work when you're inspired, that's a little bit risky.
Yeah, there's something to be said for taking a break once in a while. Again, we're not scripting these episodes, but so we didn't plan to be talking about taking breaks. But I think that's an important thing, right? We say we need to practice. We need to practice every day. We need to do work. We need to do a lot of work, as Ira Glass says. But taking a vacation is a great thing to do once in a while, even just to relax, to empty your mind and so on. We'll definitely talk about the importance of taking breaks and pauses and vacation in another episode probably. But let's still stick to the mindset, the working mindset, to doing the necessary work to close the gap, to become better. And as you said, you cannot wait for inspiration to strike you. I would like to quote Todd Henry, who wrote books about creativity, especially. And he had this. There is this quote, and he says, "I only write when I'm motivated. I just happen to be motivated every day at 8 a.m."
Yes.
Which is a way of saying that every day at 8 a.m. he sits down and starts writing.
Yes, and it's really important to have times and routines and habits, and just to plan our work and make it happen. Otherwise, if we don't plan for it, it's not going to happen by itself, obviously.
I think that the key word here is consistency, right? You need your work to be consistent. If you only do the work when it's convenient, when it's fun, when it's exciting, then you will never achieve remarkable results. You need to sit down every day and do the necessary work. We'll talk a bit about ways to help people bridge that block, that thing. Okay, I get up in the morning, I don't feel like it. I'm tired. I'm lazy. I just have to check social media. I've got 10,000 emails to look at, and so on. And so you end up in a tunnel, in an endless tunnel of reading Facebook posts or funny memes on internet and watching YouTube videos and so on, and you never do the necessary work.
Well, I think there is this belief that when you do creative work, especially for people who don't do creative work all the time. So I know that some of our listeners may have normal jobs and then they have, a passion or something they pursue, or maybe it's a second job, or maybe something they just got into to become their first job. And all creatives that decide to become photographers or designers and set up their own business. And there's this thing that, the business you work on, or, a job you work on every day, but the actual creative part needs to you need, a bolt of lightning in the sky and some angels singing and the unicorns coming down, floating, and then you are in the zone, and then you can really produce some excellent, fantastic work. Now, there are some moments in our lives when we have that inspiration and that idea, and you go you see that thing, and you go oh, I had this really good idea, and then you make it. At least you write it down and you think it's a great idea, but then you need to make it happen. And then sometimes that's not so easy. That's just doing the work. So, and sometimes the idea doesn't come at all, and you're just waiting for it and waiting for it and waiting for it. And it's not going to come until you actually sit down and do something. Action brings inspiration. I really believe that. And the more action you take, the more ideas you get.
Yeah,
that's in my experience.
It is definitely. Another artist that said something similar about that is Chuck Close, who is a painter, and he said inspiration is for amateurs. The rest of us just show up and get to work.
Yes.
And the belief that things will grow out of the activity itself, and that you will, through work, bump into other possibilities and kick open doors that you would never have dreamed of if you were just sitting around looking for a great art idea.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happens.
This is kind of a common theme that I found running through what various artists, be they photographers, be they writers, be they painters in this case, have expressed. You need to get down to work and do the work anyway.
Yes, it's not easy, because especially for creatives, we tend to be, I think we tend to have, to listen to emotions maybe more than other people. I don't know if that is true or if it's just my experience, but we tend to feel things and be maybe a bit more influenced by the situations and what we are going through at the moment to influence our work as well. So to manage to treat creative work as if I was showing up at the office is, it's a decision that we need to make. And it's, like you said at the beginning, a mindset and an attitude, the way we see things more than, what the actual work itself. The work doesn't change. It's just the way we approach it that changes.
And just to be clear, this is not only for professionals. Okay, I think this is for everyone.
Yeah.
We,
That's why I said at the beginning, especially if this is a second job or just a hobby for somebody who has another work, it's easy to think, oh, well, when I show up at the office, everybody shows up, goes to the office or to work and comes back, and they just do it at that time, and they do that, and then they come back. When it comes to your creative work, we don't have the same approach. And then that's how it gets stuck, and that's how it doesn't move forward as much as it could, as fast as it could.
I think we quoted Stephen Pressfield in the last episode about this pro mindset, which is not just for professionals. It's the pro mindset. It's you cannot be the weekend warrior if you want to achieve goals, if you want to close this damn gap. All right. It's something that people who just do this as a side gig or as a passion, if they believe they are stuck in a rut because they lack inspiration, you need to adopt the pro mindset. That's I think we've concluded that.
Yes.
Still, there are ways that you can make that easy, because if you are either with the camera in your hand, let's say you are in your home and you want to photograph something, and maybe you don't even have the option of going out and finding new subjects. You need to find subjects in your house. That's not easy. Or if you're a writer and you're in front of the dreaded blank page, and what do I do now? How do I start writing, and what do I start writing about? That's not easy. There are ways to make that easier, to facilitate that, to have little, we can call them rituals, we can call them practices, little things that help. There is we both love the book The Creative Habit by Twyla Tharp, right? I think
Yeah.
I haven't, I mean, I said I love it. I still have to read it. It's on my wish list. I love it because of all the great quotes that I read out of that book. But I think you read that book and you told me you love it.
Yeah,
So,
it's really helpful the way she's an amazing woman anyway, so she's inspiring just to read about her. But yeah, she says she has this ritual and she says, which has nothing to do with actually doing something. It's a series of things, and I don't do it. I don't do the same thing. But anyway, she describes it, and I will quote it if that's okay.
yes.
I begin each day of my life with a ritual. I wake up at 5:30 a.m., put on my workout clothes, my leg warmers, my sweatshirts, and my hat. She was a dancer for people and choreographer, very famous for people who don't know her. So I walk outside my Manhattan home, hail a taxi, and tell the driver to take me to the Pumping Iron gym at 91st Street and First Avenue, where I work out for 2 hours. The ritual is not the stretching and weight training I put my body through each morning at the gym. The ritual is the cab. The moment I tell the driver where to go, I have completed the ritual. She has set herself up to do the work. So you're setting then the work comes. Then you are showing up at the gym and you're doing what you're doing. Obviously, she's not going to turn up and sit down and, have a coffee and do nothing. So she is doing the work, but it's getting yourself there in a sort of automatic way, almost. That becomes a habit, and that becomes very easy to follow. And I do that, and I teach that to photographers, to professionals, the power of routines. And some people say, "Oh, I hate routines." Okay, that's the thing. In every course I make, there's somebody that says, "Oh, I hate routines. I would never follow a routine." And I say, well, everybody follows routines, whether you know it or not. Because when you wake up in the morning, you don't start thinking, okay, how am I going to do this today? Will I have coffee first and then maybe brush my teeth, or will I go to the bathroom first and then maybe have a shower? Will I, normally we just do things the way we like, in the order of the way we like to do things, and we have routines. I know every morning I do pretty much the same things in the same order of order of things, and I don't have to think about it. And so those are the things that we do automatically, and you don't miss any steps. If you miss a step, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna feel like, oh God, I didn't brush my teeth today, but it's not something I forget, because it comes automatically with the series of things that I do in the morning. I'm sure you have the same type of thing. I'm sure everybody does.
Yeah, beside the basic brushing your teeth every morning, which becomes a habit once you start doing every day.
That's what I mean. That's the power of habits. We tend to do things as a routine in the same way, and so then we don't forget things. We don't have to remember things. It goes in automatic pilot, and things just happen, and we get ourselves in the right mood. If I do these things, then I am fully awake and ready to start the day. If I don't brush my teeth, wash my face, or have a cup of tea, or have a shower, then I'm kind of still groggy, and I'm not really in a good state to start the day, right? So at night it's the same. Some people have evening routines to get themselves in the right mood to sleep better. And we do this pretty much even also during the day sometimes. If we think back, if we think about our own lives, we have quite a lot of routines and habits already set in place.
Yeah. One of the things that I don't do it every day, but if I think I might go running one day, I will prepare my running gear the night before. So I will set on my desk. I will put the shoes out, the socks, the trunks, and the jersey. So I see that in the morning I'm already prepared to. Okay, I need to go running, and I don't have to say. I mean, it can really become a blocker. Like, okay, I need to go running, and then before I need to go running, I need to find my shoes and find clean socks and a clean jersey, and so on. And sometimes that just gets in the way, and I think, oh, if I have to do that, then it's going to be where is my armband for keeping the phone when I'm running, and stuff like that. Which in a way ties into what we said, I think, how many episodes ago, about shaving the yaks. I think it was
right? It's even more than that, because then you are setting yourself up to do something in the easiest possible way. You're preparing yourself. It's like when the children were small, I used to get them all of their backpacks and things for school ready the night before. We had a place by the door called the launch pad, and so everything had to be on the launch pad ready to go before dinner. And so then they didn't have to worry about it anymore. And in the morning, we didn't have to scramble and get, I'm late, I can't find this and I can't find that. Everything was ready. The clothes were done, they're ready for the next day. And so the mornings were much easier and much, we were setting ourselves up for being on time. Basically, that's all they needed to be on time. That was showing up for them. So having routines and having habits makes it much, much easier. It was also in that case much easier for me, because once this launchpad thing became a habit, I didn't have to say every day, get your bags ready, put your homework in, make sure you got everything. They knew those things, and it was just a habit, and it was done. So and that made the work easier, made everybody happier. There's a lot to be said for things like these happening in your life. So
I don't know why it never worked with my daughter. You need to prepare your bag before the night before, so in the morning you're not at the last minute trying to, what books do I need today, what material do I need today, and I always forget something.
Yeah, to me that was absolutely crazy. And the fact is, when you have a habit and you want to start something new and you have a routine, then it's easier to actually get a new habit into a routine you already have. For instance, if you want to go running every day, if you put that in your routine in the morning and you just make it part of that, it will be easier and easier and easier to do it every day. If you don't, and you have to decide every day, when am I going to do it? When am I going to find half an hour to go running? When can I get away to do it? Then one day you're not going to have time. The next day you're not going to have time. The third day you're going to forget about it. The fourth day you're going to say, well, I haven't done it in a week now, so I might as well wait till the weekend. And then it doesn't get done, right? So I did it myself with exercise. I don't like jogging, so I don't go running, and I would never do anything for half an hour because to me, I'm just not like that. But I knew I had to do something not to fall apart. And so I decided that before I have a shower, I would do some crunches or some training or some of the things that I do for like 5 minutes or 2 minutes. Well, I think I started with like 1 minute and then it became 2, 3, 4, 5. And maybe I do 10 minutes, maybe less, maybe more, depending on the days. But now when I turn on the shower, that reminds me, I got to do that for a minute. Even if I'm in a hurry, I'll do like 1 or 2 minutes of something, because otherwise I feel like, oh God, I missed it today. I don't feel good about myself. So
I will recommend
into routines really, really helps.
I will recommend a book to you. It's called The 1 Minute Workout.
Yeah. Well, I will have a look.
You can use it. I mean, it's great. It shows how you can get in real better shape with very small expanse of time.
And I do that. I started off, I think, this year has been a little harder because I was traveling all the time, so I didn't always have the place and the stuff, and so I wasn't on my own. But most of the time, that's what I managed to do. And actually, it's the only way I can sort of, keep functioning, I think, because otherwise it would be a disaster. Especially as a photographer, I realized that I didn't have the physical strength to do some things because I was not well physically. And so I really had to make some changes. And the only way, because I'm the laziest person you've ever met, the only way was to add that into my morning routine, into my habits.
Do you find it helpful to have a calendar where you organize your daily activity, including the routines? Do you do that?
Nope.
No? Yeah, I do. I won't claim it. I actually adhere to it perfectly, but I've got in my calendar, I've got some time for workout. I got some time for writing.
Oh, I do that. I have a morning routine that takes 2 hours, and that happens every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if you mean, do I schedule it in my day? Yes. I don't write it in a calendar.
Yeah, I write it just to remind myself. It's another little bit of things that helps.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to do workout because in the morning I look at my calendar and I see, I'm supposed to do workout at this hour. And I need to really do it.
Yeah. No, my morning routine is always more or less the same unless I'm shooting early in the morning and I have to go out, a lot earlier. And so I tend to have these things, happening pretty much automatically every day. And then, in my calendar, I have the things that I need to do that day for work or for family, whatever that is. That changes every day.
What are some of your morning routines, if you can say?
Yeah, my morning routine is I get up, I have tea. I run on tea in the morning especially, and cream because I'm on a high fat diet. So I have that, and then I sit down and I write for about half an hour at least. I write something called Morning Pages, which I can tell you about. It's a very good way to unblock creativity. So, and then I read. I tend to read fiction at night, and all of the books that I study for my work, for my coaching, and for myself. Those I read in the morning. I read every morning for at least half an hour, and then I start planning and writing down things that come to me. So it takes about 2 hours to do all this, and then I start my day.
Can you tell us more about these morning pages? Where does the idea come from, for those who don't know?
Yeah, morning pages comes from, at least I got it from a book called The Artist's Way that I strongly suggest everybody gets and reads, by Julia Cameron. And she's a writer and a musician. And she's been teaching courses on unblocking creativity for, 40 years probably. The Artist's Way is actually a 12-week course. It gives a lot of different techniques to unblock creativity. But the first one and the second one, the first one is the morning pages, and it's a technique that really has changed everything. Everything that I do comes out of morning pages, and it's very simple to do. You take a big, like an A4 spiral notebook, like a legal pad, a big one, not a small one, because the space that we're writing needs to be big. And you write 3 pages by hand, and you write down anything that comes to you. You write down 3 pages without stopping. So what happens is that at the beginning, it's a brain dump. And sometimes at the beginning, it's a place where all kinds of nasty, vicious things get dumped on a page, or, problems, all kinds of things. And then it starts to, she says, don't read it for at least a month, because the first few weeks are absolutely useless. And so don't go back and read them. You can throw them away. You can just, as long as you just do it to clear your head of all of these thoughts and emotions and whatever has been blocking and it's been, clogging up the system for years, obviously. And then you start writing, and as you write, things just come to you, and answers, questions, ideas, creative ideas, projects, better ways to plan. And I must say that every single thing that I'm doing now has come. I've been doing it for 15 years, so I have books and books of morning pages. But everything that I'm doing now and everything that is successful now has come out of that. So she explains it in the book very well. So I suggest you get it, read it, do it. And that is one great morning habit. And I've actually taught it to a lot of my students, and people do it, on their way to work, on the tube, or not in the car, not while you're driving, but not driving. You can take it with you and do it there. It's great to do it as early in the morning as you can, because we're still connected to our unconscious, things. I used to send the kids to school and then sit down with a cup of tea and do it. And find a moment that works. And it's incredible what comes up. And actually, if any of you do it, any of our listeners already do it, it'd be great to hear what you think about it and how it works for you, because then other people can see that it's not just me. And then if you start to do it, you can come back and tell us. And if you need any help doing it, we'll be really glad to help. At least I will be. Ugo, you're starting tomorrow morning?
Maybe. I actually have another idea in mind, which I just basically started because I was reading. Today we mentioned a huge number of books. I think our audience will end up spending all their money on books if they keep following us. But this is from a book called Zen Camera by David Ulrich. And he has this routine, this practice that he suggests that people do. They just go out. It can be in the morning. I was busy this morning. I will do it right after we record this, I'm going to go to Milan because there's a conference there that I want to attend. So I'm going to bring my camera, and we suggest that you just walk around in your hometown or wherever you can for some time, for maybe half an hour, and take photos of anything that inspires you. Just clearing your mind, get into kind of a Zen zone where you don't shoot something because you have something in mind that you want to achieve. You just photograph anything that strikes your fancy, that you find interesting. And then after time, you collect those photos and you try to find commonalities. You try to find subjects that constantly strike you, arrangements of objects, compositions, the way the light plays with objects, the way maybe if you photograph people, the way that people behave on the street, or things like that. So that's going to be my routine from now on. Every time I go out, like to buy groceries or for anything, or if I don't have to go out, I'll just go out with that idea in mind. And I'm going to prepare my camera the night before, make sure my batteries are charged, make sure my memory cards are in the camera, put it on my desk, so in the morning I know, after exercise, after shower, I'll go out and take some photos for maybe half an hour. This is going to be my morning pages. They're only written with light. Okay.
Yeah, it's two different things. I do that. I don't do that every day. I do that every time I leave the house. I go out and I know that I'm going to, try to take at least one photo. I use my phone, and so I keep it really simple, because if I had to remember cards, cameras, for me, it would never happen. So I use my phone, and I'm so, I just think the technology is amazing that we can do that. We always have a camera on us. And I must say that's really helped, because to actually look around and see things, notice things, look for things is really interesting, makes even going, food shopping more interesting. So it's feeding that creative kind of streak that I like.
Yeah, another practice that Ulrich suggests is to just go to some place like a cafe or a bench in the park and spend some time observing things. Just learn to observe. That's another thing that you can definitely do, and I think you just hinted at that. Just watching things, watching the life of the street unravel in front of you, or the birds or the trees, whatever, and learn how light plays with subjects and things like that. So, okay. I think we've given our listeners a few ideas on what to do, how to start adding routines to their daily lives, how to the idea of getting down to do work no matter what, and then inspiration will come as a byproduct of work, and how to set up yourself maybe even the night before for success on the coming day, and through rituals. So we covered a lot of ground in this episode.
I think so. It's exciting. Now I want to go and do stuff.
Yep. Let's get down to work and stop rambling on this podcast. No, just kidding. It's great. I really love this conversation we had today. I mean, loved all the conversations that we had in the past episodes, and I'm pretty sure we're going to come up with even better ones in what's to come in the next weeks. Just like to remember our listeners that they can find this episode and all the others at our website at closingthegap.live, and also on Apple Podcasts and every other channel. Just look for Closing the Gap. There's actually a couple of other podcasts that have Closing the Gap in the title, but I'm sure you'll find us, especially if you go through the website at closingthegap.live.
Yes.
Okay.
Good. So we'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week. Talk soon. Yes. Bye-bye. Take care.
Go do stuff. Bye.